Welcome back. A major piece of legislation has recently been signed into law by President Trump, and it's already creating ripple effects. If you're trying to understand what's changing, what's just political noise, and which dates actually matter for your life, you're in the right place. This law includes significant changes that could affect your taxes, healthcare, retirement plans, and student loans. Some provisions start soon, while others don't kick in until 2026 or later. Interestingly, one major change doesn't begin until after the next election, timing that's likely strategic. Let's go through what's changing, when it happens, and how it may impact you or your family. Before we begin, if any of these updates could affect you or someone close to you, feel free to leave a comment. I read them all. And if you find breakdowns like this helpful, subscribing is a great way to stay informed. It also supports the channel so we can keep bringing you these updates. The new law, H.R. 1. The legislation, formerly known as H.R. 1, was signed into law on July 4, a date chosen with symbolic intent. But not everything in the bill takes effect right away. Some parts have already started rolling out. Others are set for 2025, 2026, and even 2028. This kind of phased approach is meant to give people time to adjust and spread out the political impact. Tax changes. If you work in hospitality, service, construction, or any field where tips and overtime are part of your regular income, there's a potential benefit starting with your 2025 tax return filed in 2026. You can deduct up to $25,000 in tips. You can also deduct up to $12,500 in overtime pay. This applies to individuals earning under $150,000 and couples earning under $300,000. Important note: these deductions aren't automatic. You'll need to keep detailed records of your tips and overtime, especially if you haven't done so in the past. The deduction is temporary and will expire after the 2028 tax year unless extended. Extra tax relief for seniors. Beginning in 2025, anyone aged 65 and older will qualify for an additional $6,000 standard deduction. This is in addition to the regular standard deduction, and it applies regardless of whether you're working, semi-retired, or living off savings. This benefit runs through 2028. Social Security tax updates. Starting in 2025, if you're a senior with a total income under $75,000, your Social Security benefits may become fully exempt from federal income tax. If you're already exempt due to low income, you may not see any change. For higher income seniors, the existing rules still apply. But for those in the middle range, this could mean meaningful savings. Medicaid and SNAP program changes. These changes take effect later but are important to plan for now. For Medicaid, beginning January 1, 2027, adults between 19 and 64 must work at least 80 hours per month to stay eligible. There are exceptions for people with disabilities, students, and caregivers of children under 13. In 2028, federal Medicaid funding will be reduced, meaning states may adjust coverage or tighten requirements. For SNAP food assistance, work requirements will increase starting in 2025. The qualifying age rises to 64. Parents will only be exempt if their child is under 14. Starting in 2028, states with high error rates in managing SNAP benefits may face financial penalties. Child tax credit increase. The child tax credit increases to $2,200 per child in 2025. Starting in 2026, it will adjust for inflation each year. You don't need to itemize your deductions to claim it. State and local tax SALT deduction. In 2025, the SALT deduction cap will increase to $40,000. This cap begins to phase out for those earning over $500,000. The increased cap is temporary and will return to $10,000 in 2030 unless extended. From here, reduction of clean energy incentives. The $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles ends on September 30, 2025. Tax incentives for solar panels, energy storage systems, and efficiency upgrades begin phasing out in 2026. If you're planning these upgrades, it may make sense to act sooner rather than later. Social Security Administration changes. As of April 14, 2025, accessing or creating a Social Security online account will require stronger identity verification. Later that year, A pilot program using artificial intelligence will be introduced to help detect fraud and speed up claim processing. Human workers will still make final decisions. In 2026, a new audit system will review past payments for underpayment errors and send retroactive corrections if necessary. Student loan and education reforms. Starting July 1, 2026, graduate student borrowing will be capped at $100,000. Law and medical school students will be capped at $200,000. Parent Plus loans will be limited to $65,000. A new repayment system called the Repayment Assistance Plan will replace the existing income-driven repayment options. Specifics are still being developed. In addition, colleges with large financial endowments will face new taxes of up to 8% starting in 2026, which may influence tuition pricing or financial aid strategies over time. Federal budget reductions. Beginning October 1, 2025, most federal agencies will face a 3% budget cut. The Departments of Social Security and Defense are exempt. Other agencies may experience delays, service changes, or staffing reductions. At the same time, there's an increase in funding for border security, including expansion of the border wall, upgrades to customs technology, and additional detention facilities. These actions are already underway. Final thoughts. This new law has a lot of moving parts, and they aren't all happening at once. Some provisions start immediately, some are delayed, and many are temporary. That's why timing matters. Whether you're planning around taxes, healthcare, education, or retirement, knowing when these changes take effect is just as important as knowing what they are. If this feels like a lot to keep up with, that's totally understandable. You don't need to memorize every detail right away. Just having an overview of what's coming and when gives you a head start. Join the conversation. Have a question or want help figuring out how this law might affect you personally? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this helped you feel more prepared, consider subscribing so you don't miss future updates. Take care, and see you next time.